What do you do when everything starts to fall apart? When the phone rings with bad news? When someone pushes you to your limit? When the world spins too fast and your thoughts scream louder than your voice? What happens inside you? Most people try to escape. Some shut down, others explode. The outside world becomes chaos and their mind follows. They lose control not because they're weak, but because they were never trained to stay strong in the storm. No one ever taught them how to stay calm when it matters most. But here's the truth. Calm isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. You see, life won't always be kind. It won't always go your way. People will test your patience. Circumstances will push your limits. But your real power lies not in what happens to you. It lies in how you respond. There's a reason the strongest minds don't break under pressure. It's not luck. It's not personality. It's because they've trained for it. They've built a quiet strength that doesn't panic, doesn't lash out, doesn't crumble. They've made calm their weapon. And that's what you're here for. Not just to hear some feel-good words and move on. You're here because something inside you wants more. You're tired of overreacting, tired of feeling helpless, tired of your emotions controlling you. Deep down, you know you're capable of something greater. And you're right. Imagine this, someone insults you and you don't flinch. Traffic clogs your day and you breathe steady. Life throws fire at you and you stand still untouched. That's not fantasy, that's training, that's mental discipline. And if you stay with this, if you commit to mastering your mind, you won't just survive life's storms, you'll lead through them. Because the world doesn't need more noise, it needs calm. The kind of calm that commands attention without saying a word. The kind of calm that walks into chaos and makes everyone around it feel safe. That's the kind of calm that changes lives. That's the kind of calm that lives inside you, waiting to be awakened. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The mind left untrained becomes your enemy. It turns on you in the worst moments. It overthinks, it panics. It makes you say and do things you regret. And then it blames everything else for the damage it caused. That's not your fault. But it is your responsibility. You are not weak for feeling overwhelmed. You are human. But you are powerful for choosing to rise above it. Staying calm isn't about pretending nothing's wrong. It's about seeing the storm and choosing not to become it. It's about finding stillness in the chaos, clarity in the noise, and strength in the silence. When you learn to master your reaction, you master your reality. Think about that. Every time you lose your temper, you lose your power. Every time you let fear take over, you give your peace away. But every time you pause, breathe, and stay centered, you take it back. Bit by bit, you build a mind that doesn't get shaken, a spirit that doesn't collapse, a presence that can't be broken. And make no mistake, this isn't about ignoring life. It's about facing it fully, without losing yourself in the process. People will wonder how you do it, how you stay so composed when things go wrong. They'll think you're lucky, or gifted, or just built differently. But you'll know the truth. You trained for this. You made a decision that when the world gets loud, you go quiet inside. That when fear rises, you stand firm. That when pressure builds, you breathe deeper. This is not a one-time change, it's a lifelong commitment. But the reward is priceless. Because when you train your mind to stay calm in any situation, you gain more than control. You gain freedom. Freedom from regret, freedom from guilt, freedom from the emotional roller coaster that once ruled your life. You become someone others rely on, someone they trust, someone they respect, not because you force it, but because you've earned it through your presence, your steadiness, your inner strength. And most importantly, you begin to respect yourself deeply. Because you're no longer a prisoner of your reactions. You're the one in command. So ask yourself again, what do you do when everything falls apart? The answer is simple. You rise, you breathe, you stay calm, because you've trained your mind to become your greatest ally. And from this moment on, you no longer wait for peace. You create it. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions. One comment can ruin their day. One failure can crush their confidence. One unexpected problem, and they unravel. Not because they're weak, but because they've never understood what's really happening inside their own mind. When stress hits, it doesn't come politely. It barges in. It tightens your chest, clouds your thoughts, and hijacks your ability to think clearly. That's not imagination. That's your brain going into survival mode. The moment your mind senses danger, real or imagined, it switches to fight, flight, or freeze. You stop responding. You start reacting. And here's the hard truth. Your brain doesn't care if your reaction costs you a relationship, an opportunity, or your peace. It only cares about one thing, protecting you. But what protects you in a crisis can destroy you in daily life. This is why so many people repeat the same patterns. They lash out, they shut down, they spiral, and they don't know why. They think they're broken, but they're not. They're just untrained. Your mind is like a muscle. Leave it alone and it weakens, but train it. Discipline it, and it becomes unshakable. When you understand how your mind works, you stop being controlled by it. You start mastering it. Here's what most never realize. You can't always stop the pressure, but you can change what pressure does to you. Pressure doesn't break you, it reveals you. And the question is, what will it find? When stress rises, your nervous system floods your body with adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart races, your thoughts speed up, you feel overwhelmed, not because the world is too much, but because your mind is screaming at full volume. But calm isn't found in ignoring those signals. Calm is found in training your body and brain to ride the wave without drowning in it. Start here. Notice the moment you start to spiral. Pause. Breathe in slowly. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Your senses are anchors. They bring you back from the chaos in your head. Every breath is a message to your brain. I am not in danger. I am in control. This is not weakness. This is training. This is power. And over time, that pause becomes your default. The chaos comes and you stay rooted. The noise gets louder and you get clearer. The heat rises and you don't burn. Because calm is an absence of emotion. Calm is control over it. It's the space between stimulus and response. And in that space, your power lives. But let's be honest, training your mind won't always be easy. There will be days when your old habits scream louder than your new discipline. Days when you slip, lose control, and react in ways you regret. Don't run from those moments. Learn from them. Every time you fall, you're being shown where your work still lies. That's growth. That's evolution. And it doesn't happen overnight. It happens breath by breath, decision by decision, moment by moment. Real calm is forged in the fire, not found in the absence of it. Ask yourself this. How many times has your reaction made the situation worse? How many times have you looked back and said, I wish I had handled that differently? Now flip it. How would your life change if, in those moments, you had stayed calm? What relationships could have been saved? What opportunities could have been kept? What pain could have been avoided? That's the cost of not training your mind. And that's the reward of learning to master it. Calm gives you clarity. It gives you options. It gives you the power to choose who you want to be, no matter what's happening around you. When you build that, you become untouchable. Life still hits, but it doesn't knock you off course. People still try you. But you don't lose yourself in their chaos. You don't react to every noise. You rise above it. And that's rare. That's valuable. That's strength. Because anyone can scream. Anyone can panic. Anyone can let their emotions lead them. But the one who stays calm, that's the one people remember. That's the one people follow. That's the one who wins. So start today. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start with the next moment of stress, the next moment of pressure, the next test life throws at you. And choose differently. Choose calm. Choose presence. Choose mastery over reaction, because the world isn't slowing down. Life isn't getting easier, but you can get stronger. You can get calmer. You can become the person who doesn't get shaken by every storm, but who stands in it, centered and steady, unbreakable. You have that power. Not someday, not if everything goes right. You have it now. You just have to claim it. Calm isn't silence. It's control. It's the ability to stand in the middle of chaos and not let it control your next move. And once you realize that your mind can either be your loudest enemy or your greatest weapon, everything changes. Because what you do in the pressure defines who you are in peace. Most people live on emotional autopilot. Something happens and they react. No pause, no choice, just a loop of habits disguised as personality. But here's the truth no one tells you. What you call your temper, your anxiety, your stress, it's not who you are. It's who you've practiced being. And what you practice, you become. If every day you let frustration run the show, you're training your mind to break at the smallest setback. If every day you respond with anger, you're strengthening that reaction like a muscle. You are always training your mind, whether you know it or not. The question is, are you training it to work for you or against you? You don't rise under pressure by accident. You rise because you've built the mental reflexes to stay steady when it counts. Because you've trained yourself to choose clarity when others choose chaos. This isn't about pretending to be calm. It's about becoming calm. That kind of calm doesn't come from reading quotes or waiting for the right mood. It comes from discipline, from choosing to pause when your emotions beg you to explode, from choosing to breathe when your mind tells you to panic, from choosing to stay grounded when every part of you wants to run. You don't have to eliminate emotion. You just have to stop letting it decide for you. There is power in the pause. A single breath can shift your entire response. A single moment of awareness can change the path of your entire day. That's where strength lives, not in the loud, dramatic reaction, but in the quiet decision to stay in control. That's where leadership is born. That's where self-respect is earned. Not when everything is easy, but when everything inside you wants to break and you don't. When you choose peace, not because the world is peaceful, but because you are, and this is what makes the difference between people who succeed and those who stay stuck. Not intelligence, not talent, not luck, but control. The ability to lead themselves before they try to lead anything else. When you build that control, you become different. People feel it. They notice it. You speak less, but your presence says more. You don't get pulled into every argument. You don't lose sleep over opinions that don't matter. You stop reacting to life and start responding with power, because calm isn't weak. Calm is strength that doesn't need to shout. It's the armor that protects your focus. It's the fire that burns slow, steady, and unstoppable. And once you've felt that kind of calm, you never want to go back. You start valuing your energy. You stop wasting it on things that don't grow you. You begin filtering your decisions through a different lens. Will this disturb my peace? Will this make me stronger or just louder? You protect your mind like it's sacred, because it is. Everything you do flows from it. Every relationship, every goal, every response, it all begins in your mind. So when you train it, you transform everything around you. No one is born with this kind of strength. It's forged through choices, through mistakes, through discomfort, and most of all, through consistency. You don't wait for calm to show up. You build it. You earn it. You fight for it. Because when the moment comes, when life hits hard and fast, you won't have time to think. You'll fall back on your training. And if your training is built on stillness, on focus, on control, you won't just survive that moment. You'll own it. That's why this matters. That's why this work is so powerful. Because it gives you something most people never have: choice. You don't have to be ruled by emotion. You don't have to be hijacked by fear. You don't have to be pulled in every direction by life's demands. You can choose your center. You can choose your response. You can choose your peace. And the moment you start doing that, not once, not occasionally, but daily, you start to change, slowly, quietly, powerfully. You begin to lead yourself, not follow your impulses. You begin to act from clarity, not confusion. You begin to move with intention, not reaction. This is how calm becomes your strength. Not by avoiding the world, but by mastering how you meet it. And when you do that, when you walk into every situation with the kind of peace that can't be shaken, everything around you shifts. Because people feel your energy before they hear your words. And when your energy is calm, grounded, unbothered, you don't just inspire others, you lead them. So train your mind like your life depends on it, because in the moments that matter most, it will. There is a moment between every trigger and every reaction where your future is decided. That moment is small, but it's everything. In that space, you either rise above your emotions or you become a prisoner to them. That space is your power, your test, your opportunity to lead yourself instead of being led by whatever the world throws at you. You don't control what happens around you, but you always control what happens next inside you. And that's where real transformation begins, not with perfect conditions, but with inner discipline. You create calm not by waiting for life to be easier, but by training your mind to meet difficulty without falling apart. Every time you face resistance, you're building resilience. Every time you stay grounded in the middle of a storm, you're proving to yourself that the chaos outside doesn't get to dictate the peace inside. That's the mindset of the unshakable. Not someone who avoids pain, but someone who becomes stronger through it. Not someone who needs things to go their way, but someone who stays the same regardless of the way things go. It's easy to stay calm when everything feels good, but true mental strength shows up when everything feels uncertain, unfair, or uncomfortable. That's when most people break. They let their emotions decide. They let pressure override principle. They let the situation become louder than their values. But that's not who you're becoming. You're becoming someone who stays rooted in purpose, even when the noise tries to drown it out. Someone who can feel emotion without being controlled by it. Someone who doesn't need to fight every battle, because you've already won the battle within. This isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about becoming so aligned with who you are that no circumstance can pull you off track. When others panic, you stay clear. When others get lost in the moment, you hold the vision. When others react, you respond. And that response, controlled, steady, intentional, is where your power lives. Understand this. Every time you choose reaction over calm, you're letting your past write your future. You're reinforcing patterns that no longer serve you. But when you pause, when you reflect before you respond, you interrupt that cycle. You send a signal to your brain, we don't do it like that anymore. You teach your nervous system that calm is your new baseline. And over time, that becomes your truth. That's not easy, but it's worth everything. Because the person who can stay calm in any situation is unstoppable. They're not easily manipulated. They're not thrown off by opinion, by rejection, by temporary failure. They move forward with quiet confidence. And that kind of energy is rare and powerful. The world tries to pull you in every direction. It demands a reaction, wants your attention, feeds on your outrage. But when you stay calm, you break that game. You don't just protect your peace. You reclaim your focus, your time, your identity. You stop letting emotions drag you into battles you were never meant to fight. You stop being ruled by urgency and start moving with clarity. You stop looking for control out there and realize it's always been in here. And once you know that, once you've felt that kind of stillness in the chaos, you stop trading your calm for things that don't matter. You stop giving people access to your peace just because they want to trigger your reaction. You protect your energy not with walls but with wisdom, because you've trained your mind to choose clarity over noise, growth over drama, purpose over pride. And that's how leaders are built. Not in moments of applause, but in moments of pressure. Not in times of ease, but in the silence between provocation and decision. So when life tests you, and it will, remember this, you are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are the observer, the decider, the one who chooses the next move. You are the calm in the storm. You are the fire that doesn't burn out. You are the strength that holds steady when everything else trembles. This is not just about staying calm. It's about becoming someone so deeply grounded that the world no longer shakes your foundation. So committed to growth that pressure doesn't scare you, it sharpens you. So in tune with your own power that no external chaos can break your internal compass. That's who you are becoming. And that version of you, that version doesn't just survive life. That version shapes it, commands it, leads it. So breathe in, stand still. And remember, your calm isn't weakness. It's the highest form of strength you will ever build. Every moment you choose calm, you strengthen your identity. You stop living as a reaction, and you start living as a force. You're no longer just responding to life, you're designing it. With every breath you take before speaking, with every second you pause before acting, with every decision you make under pressure, you're casting a vote for the person you are becoming. And here's what most people never realize. Calm isn't just a skill, it's a signal. It tells your mind, your body, and everyone around you that you are in control. Not because life is easy, but because you are grounded, centered, intentional. This isn't about being passive. This isn't about silence or softness. This is about ownership. Ownership of your emotions, ownership of your choices, ownership of your presence. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs people who don't lose themselves when things go wrong. It needs people who don't add fuel to the fire, but put it out with presence. That's not weakness, that's mastery. And that mastery is built through one thing, repetition. Not perfection, repetition. Choosing the calm path again and again until it becomes who you are. Not what you do on good days, but what you live by on the hardest ones. You must understand that your identity is not fixed. You are not stuck with your past reactions. You are not destined to repeat old mistakes. Every calm response rewrites your story. Every moment you hold your ground in silence, you are building a new version of yourself. A version that doesn't get rattled, a version that holds peace even in pain, a version that refuses to be shaken by things that no longer deserve access to your energy. And the deeper you go into this training, the more you begin to understand something life-changing. Calm isn't something you wait to feel, it's something you decide to be. That decision, when made consistently, rewires everything. It reshapes your nervous system, it sharpens your thinking, it expands your awareness, and most of all, it makes you reliable. When people see you stay calm, they begin to trust you. Not just because of what you say, but because of how you show up. because they know that when pressure rises, you rise with it, not in panic, but in presence. You become the one people look to when others lose direction, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't run, the one who thinks clearly while others collapse under noise. That presence, it's rare. That calm under pressure, it's valuable. And it's not a gift, it's a decision, made again and again in the small, unseen moments where you choose to respond with power instead of reaction. Think about how different your life becomes when calm is your default. Arguments don't pull you in. Criticism doesn't throw you off. Delay doesn't cause desperation. Fear shows up, but it no longer gets to lead. You begin to operate from a higher level of awareness. You don't just react, you analyze, understand, choose. You stop chasing control over everything around you because you've already claimed control over yourself. And in that moment, you begin to unlock something powerful, emotional freedom. You are no longer a prisoner of the mood of the moment. You're no longer trapped in a pattern of reactivity. You feel everything, but you are ruled by nothing. That is what peace really is. Not the absence of noise, but the refusal to be owned by it. The world will always try to shake you. People will test your patience. Circumstances will challenge your beliefs. But none of that has the power to define you unless you hand it over. And once you stop handing it over, once you make calm your baseline, you become untouchable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get unmovable. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more advice. You need more discipline in the small moments, more commitment to your future self, more courage to pause instead of explode, more strength to listen instead of speak, and more belief that you are not at the mercy of your emotions. You are the one in command. Let the noise around you come. Let the pressure rise. Let the world spin. You are not here to match chaos. You are here to outlast it. And you will. Not because of some secret, not because of luck, but because you made the choice to train your mind to lead your emotions instead of being led by them. This is the kind of strength that doesn't fade. It doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't need applause. It just shows up. Quiet, clear, consistent, ready. That's who you are becoming. Keep going. Keep choosing calm. Keep showing up for the person you promised yourself you'd become. Because every time you do, you move closer to the version of you that nothing and no one can shake. Calm doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you've stopped letting feelings decide everything. It means you've taken your power back, not by ignoring your emotions, but by mastering how you carry them. You can feel frustration without becoming aggressive. You can feel fear without letting it control you. You can feel overwhelmed and still choose to act with clarity. That's real power. The ability to feel fully without falling apart, to be present with every emotion, but still anchored in who you are. That kind of strength comes from training, not from chance. You don't wake up one day unshakable. You earn it with every moment you choose presence over panic, with every time you stay steady when your old self would have cracked. And every time you do that, something inside you shifts, something deep. You stop identifying with the chaos. You stop seeing stress as your enemy. You start seeing every hard moment as a chance to build endurance. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start declaring, this is training me. That mindset separates the reactive from the resilient, the ordinary from the uncommon. Because while most people wait for conditions to calm down, you've made the decision to calm yourself, no matter what's going on. That's what makes you different. That's what sets you apart. You've stopped letting circumstances control your state. You've stopped depending on peace around you to feel peace within. And because of that, you become dangerous, not in destruction, but in discipline, not in rage, but in resolve. Because nothing is more powerful than a person who cannot be provoked out of character, someone who doesn't lower themselves to meet chaos, but rises above it with focus. That's not softness, that's control, that's leadership. Every time you stay calm, you reinforce the identity you're building. You become someone you can count on. That's what most people are missing. Not more motivation, but more trust in themselves. Trust that they won't crumble under pressure. Trust that they won't act out of impulse. Trust that no matter what comes, they'll meet it with strength. And that trust, it's not built in easy moments. It's built in the discomfort, in the heat, in the pressure. When your emotions are high and your habits are loud, but you still choose to pause, to breathe, to hold the line. That's how you earn self-respect. That's how you build inner peace that doesn't depend on outer conditions, because life won't always feel stable. People won't always be fair. Situations won't always be in your favor, but your response can always be yours. That's the one thing no one can take from you, your ability to choose how you show up. And when you train that, truly train that, you stop fearing the storm. You become the calm within it. You stop playing defense with your emotions. You stop letting bad moments steal good days. You stop shrinking when things get tough. Instead, you expand. You stay tall. You meet resistance with presence, not panic. And that presence speaks louder than words. It tells the world, I don't flinch, I don't fold, I don't run. This isn't about pretending to be calm on the outside. This is about becoming calm on the inside. So solid in your center that no circumstance can shake it loose. So deeply rooted in self-control that chaos becomes just another background noise. You hear it, you feel it, but it never pulls you off your path. And that's when everything changes, because now you're no longer reactive, you're intentional. You're no longer bouncing from one emotion to the next. You're directing your energy with purpose. You're no longer trapped by the noise. You're focused on what matters. You begin to see stress differently. You begin to see challenge differently. You start using it. You let it shape you, sharpen you, build you, because you've stopped trying to escape the pressure and started becoming someone who can rise through it. And the truth is, once you've experienced that kind of internal calm, you won't trade it for anything. Not for a quick reaction, not for a moment of pride, not for a temporary release of anger or fear. You'll protect it fiercely because you know what it costs to build, and you know what it gives you in return. It gives you power, real, lasting power, the kind that no one can give you and no one can take away, the kind that shows up when the world is watching, and even more when it's not. The kind that says, I've trained for this, I'm ready, let's go. So don't just wish for calm. Don't just wait for it. Build it every single day. In the small decisions, in the hidden moments, in the times when no one else is watching but your future is. Show up for that, train for that, because one day everything will depend on how you respond under pressure. And when that day comes, you won't have to rise to the occasion. You'll simply rise to the level of your training. When your training becomes your default, you stop needing to remind yourself to stay calm. It becomes automatic. That's the goal. To turn self-control into instinct. To turn discipline into identity. To stop wrestling with every emotion and start standing above them with clarity and confidence. That kind of control doesn't just improve your mindset, it changes your life. Because when you stay calm, you think better, you speak better, you lead better. You don't get pulled into arguments that drain your energy. You don't make decisions from panic, regret, or fear. You move with intention. You move with precision. You move with strength that doesn't need to be loud to be felt. That's what separates the scattered from the focused. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's emotional mastery. The ability to hold your line, protect your energy, and move with purpose, no matter the storm around you. You become sharper, clearer, more reliable, not just for others, but for yourself. And that's everything, because most people live in reaction. They wake up and wait to see how the world makes them feel. One message can ruin their mood. One setback can steal their motivation. They spend their days managing stress instead of mastering it. But you're done with that. You've chosen to take control. You've decided that your emotions don't get to drive the car anymore. You do. You've stopped being led by pressure and started using it as fuel. And that shift, that's what changes your future. Because life will test you. It will push you. And every time it does, you get stronger. Every challenge is another rep. Every hard moment is another opportunity to level up, not just in skill, but in mindset, in emotional strength, and identity. You stop fearing difficulty. You stop resisting pressure. You welcome it. You see it as part of the process, not a barrier, but a teacher, not something to run from, but something to train through. Because staying calm doesn't mean avoiding the fire. It means walking through it without losing your shape, without burning your values, without collapsing under the heat. It means becoming the person who doesn't break when it gets hard, but becomes more focused, more resilient, more aligned. You can't fake that. You can't shortcut that. You have to earn it, and you are. Every breath you take before reacting, every moment you stay still when you want to lash out, every time you choose awareness over impulse, presence over panic, strength over noise, you build that foundation quietly, powerfully, brick by brick, and soon it becomes who you are. Not someone trying to stay calm, but someone who is calm. That's a different kind of power. One that doesn't get shaken by criticism, one that doesn't crumble in conflict, one that doesn't rush, doesn't chase, doesn't flinch, or because it's not looking for approval, it's built on truth. You don't need the world to be still. You don't need everything to go right. You've already decided who you are. And when you live from that place, you don't react to noise, you rise above it. You don't mirror the chaos, you model control. And when others see that, when they feel that energy, they take notice, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you've become someone who commands respect without ever having to ask for it. That's what calm gives you. Not just peace, but presence. Not just control, but influence. Not just quietness, but power. So stay in the process, stay with the practice. Keep choosing the path that makes you stronger even when it's harder, especially when it's harder, because pressure doesn't create weakness. It reveals where the work still needs to be done, and you are doing the work. That's why you're different now. Not perfect, not finished, but focused, grounded, becoming. And the more you commit to that, the less anything outside of you can touch what's inside you. The more your life reflects your training, not your triggers. So when the tension rises, when things don't go your way, when life tests you in unexpected ways, don't fall back into reaction. Stand up in the strength you've been building. Breathe, pause, own the moment. You've already trained for this. Now act like it. Calm is not the absence of emotion. It's the command of it. It's the discipline to feel deeply without losing yourself. It's the decision to stay aligned with your purpose, even when everything around you tries to pull you off course. That's the difference between those who simply exist and those who lead, between those who react to life and those who rise above it. There will always be noise, always pressure, always uncertainty. But when you've trained your mind to stay calm, none of it owns you anymore. You stop chasing stability on the outside and start building it within. That's where real power lives, not in controlling the world, but in mastering your response to it. You begin to recognize how much energy you used to waste. Energy lost in overthinking, in arguments that led nowhere, in frustration over things that were never yours to fix. Now, that energy is redirected. It fuels your focus. It feeds your goals. It sharpens your presence. And with that shift, you become unstoppable. Not because you force everything to go your way, but because nothing can move you off your path. You don't need validation to know your worth. You don't need perfect conditions to take action. You don't need the absence of problems to stay grounded. You've chosen to build a foundation within yourself that doesn't crack under pressure, that doesn't bend with the wind. And because of that, you walk differently. You speak with clarity. You move with purpose. That's what it means to lead yourself, to refuse to be at the mercy of your moods, to stop giving power to things that don't build you, to no longer let your peace depend on how someone else treats you, how your day unfolds, or how comfortable your circumstances are. You've seen enough chaos to know this. If you don't own your mind, something else will. Fear will, doubt will, anger will, and none of them care about your future. That's why calm isn't just a mindset. It's a mission, a daily choice to protect your power, a daily practice of remembering who you are no matter how loud life gets. And the more you honor that commitment, the more you begin to feel it, not just as a tool, but as your identity. You start becoming someone who doesn't need to be louder to be heard, someone who doesn't need to defend their worth or explain their peace. Your energy speaks for you. Your discipline sets the tone. Your presence commands the room long before your words ever do. That is earned. That is built in the unseen moments. In the times you wanted to react but chose restraint. In the times you wanted to quit but chose to breathe and keep going. In the times you felt the weight of it all but stood tall anyway. Those are the moments that define you. That's where real confidence is born. Not from hype or noise, but from knowing you can trust yourself. Trust yourself to stay calm under fire. Trust yourself to speak with clarity, not ego. Trust yourself to hold the line when everything wants to break you. And with that trust comes freedom, because when you no longer fear your own emotions, when you no longer feel controlled by the unpredictable, you move differently. You stop overreacting. You stop over-explaining. You stop overthinking. You operate from center, not from survival. The storms will still come. People will still misunderstand you. Life will still throw curveballs. But you've already made your decision. Nothing outside of you will steal what you've built inside. That decision, it's not made once. It's made every single day. Every moment of tension. Every conversation that tests you. Every setback that dares you to give in. And every time you make that decision again, it gets stronger. The voice of reaction gets quieter. The impulse to lash out fades. The need to control everything loosens its grip. Because now you realize you don't need to control the world when you control your response to it. This is how leaders are forged. In the pressure, in the resistance, in the moments that don't feel easy or inspiring, but necessary. And when you rise in those moments, when you stay calm in the places you used to break, you're not just changing how you act, you're changing who you are. This is not about appearing calm. This is about becoming the calm. It's not just something you practice, it's something you embody. Let the world try to shake you. Let the pressure try to break you. You've trained for this. You've chosen this. You've earned the right to move forward without flinching. And that choice to stay calm, to stay grounded, to stay in control is no longer a tactic. It's who you are now. And nothing is more powerful than that. When calm becomes who you are, everything around you begins to shift. You start to feel it, not as a temporary state, but as a constant presence. You don't have to force it. You don't have to fake it. You simply carry it. Because it's been built, layer by layer, through every test you've faced and chosen to rise through. People begin to notice, not because you're louder, not because you dominate conversations, but because your presence speaks something most people don't even understand. Control. Not control over others, but mastery over yourself. And that kind of strength can't be bought. It can't be faked. It's felt. It's known. It's undeniable. This is what separates the average from the exceptional. Not status, not success, not popularity, but emotional discipline. When you stay calm in situations that would shake others, you immediately set yourself apart. You create space between you and the chaos. You don't shrink from intensity. You absorb it, you process it, and you respond with intention. That's what gives you leverage, not over people, but over moments. You don't panic when others do. You don't crumble when plans fall apart. You adapt. You refocus. You move forward with clarity because you are no longer enslaved by urgency. You've chosen patience, not passive waiting, but powerful composure. And the truth is, that kind of control makes you magnetic. People feel safe around someone who doesn't lose control when things go wrong. They lean into your stability. They watch how you move, how you speak, how you decide, because calm minds create confident choices. And in a world full of noise, your silence starts to speak volumes. But understand this, none of it means you're emotionless. It doesn't mean you don't feel anger, fear, or pain. You do, deeply. But you've learned to hold those emotions without letting them spill into destruction. You've learned that strength isn't in suppression, but in awareness. That feeling something doesn't mean you have to act on it. That reaction doesn't always serve you, even when it feels justified. Because not every battle is worth your energy. Not every trigger deserves your attention. And not every situation needs your response. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. Stillness is strength. Restraint is wisdom. And calm is not just a tool for hard times. It's a way of life for those who refuse to be moved by anything but purpose. That's why your calm matters. Because when you're not busy managing outbursts or repairing damage from emotional decisions, you have more space, mental space, emotional space, spiritual space, to build, to lead, to grow. And that space, that's where your future is created. You can't build anything lasting from a frantic mind. You can't create peace from chaos. But when your mind is calm, your path clears. You make better decisions. You see the truth more clearly. You start trusting your instincts, not because they're perfect, but because they're not clouded by fear or insecurity. You step into your life with confidence, quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to explain itself. The kind that comes from knowing you've done the inner work most people avoid. The kind that radiates from a mind that has been through fire and come out clear, focused, and unshaken. You begin to understand that emotional control is freedom. You're no longer held hostage by someone else's attitude. You're not pulled into every wave of conflict. You're not swayed by every change in circumstance. You respond only when it matters. You speak only when it's needed. You move only when the moment is right. That's the discipline. That's the strength. And that's the level most never reach, not because they're not capable, but because they haven't committed. But you have. You've chosen to train your mind, to stand taller when the pressure rises, to build inner peace no matter how loud the world gets. And because of that, you are no longer moved by emotion. You are moved by principle, by focus, by purpose. That is the foundation of a powerful life, not one controlled by chaos, but one directed by calm, not one built on reaction, but one rooted in intention, not one ruled by fear, but one led by quiet, unshakable strength. This is who you've become, not someone who tries to keep it together, but someone who already is. True calm is not something you stumble upon when life is easy. It's forged in the heat of chaos, in the middle of pressure, when everything inside screams to lose control. It's not a comfort zone, it's a battlefield. And those who conquer it don't do so by avoiding struggle, but by embracing it with a quiet ferocity. The power of calm lies in its ability to give you choice. When your mind is clear and still, you create a pause, a moment that separates impulse from action. And in that pause, you reclaim control. You decide how to respond. You refuse to be a prisoner to your emotions or circumstances. This pause is the difference between breaking down and breaking through, between regret and progress, between chaos and clarity. It's a moment where your mind steps out of reaction and into mastery. And mastering that moment is mastering your life. But it requires more than just willpower. It demands training, repetition, commitment, because the mind naturally drifts toward the loudest voices, the ones fueled by fear, anger, and urgency. Those voices scream for attention, but they don't serve you. They distract you from what really matters. Your job is to train your mind to listen to a different voice, the voice of calm reason, the voice of patient strength, the voice that says, "This moment is temporary, I am permanent, I choose how I move through this." This voice grows stronger the more you practice, the more you remind yourself that the storm outside doesn't have to become a storm inside. The more you choose awareness over impulse, presence over panic, peace over chaos. And as this voice grows, so does your power. Because power isn't about controlling the uncontrollable. It's about controlling yourself in the face of the uncontrollable. It's about standing firm when everything shakes. It's about being the anchor others look to when they feel lost. That's why calm is magnetic. Because it's rare. Because most people give their power away with every emotional reaction. But you hold yours. You own your energy. You decide what to feed and what to starve. This control isn't cold or detached. It's deeply human. It's the courage to face your emotions without being ruled by them. It's the strength to acknowledge pain without becoming a victim. It's the wisdom to see beyond the immediate moment and trust in your ability to navigate what's next. When you master this, you stop fearing discomfort. You stop avoiding hard conversations, difficult decisions, or challenging emotions. You step into them with a calm confidence that changes the entire dynamic. People sense it. They respond to it. Because calm breeds clarity, and clarity breeds respect. You become someone who doesn't need to shout to be heard. Someone who doesn't need to rush to prove their worth. Someone who moves deliberately, speaks thoughtfully, and acts decisively. That presence changes everything. Your relationships, your career, your inner world. Because when you're calm, you create space for possibility. You see solutions where others see problems. You find opportunity where others see obstacles. And that's the essence of true power, not power over others, but power over yourself. The freedom to choose your path, no matter what happens around you. The strength to stay true to your values, no matter how hard the test. This is what happens when you train your mind to stay calm in any situation. You don't just survive, you thrive. You don't just react, you lead. You don't just endure, you transform. So keep building that voice inside you. That quiet force that says, I am in control. That steady presence that anchors you in stormy seas. Because with it, you become unstoppable. And the world will have no choice but to move with you, not against you.